The warning alarm screamed across Earth Defense Command. Red lights flashed down steel corridors. Voices shouted over comms. The station above Earth's orbit shook with the thunder of heavy doors slamming shut. Captain Jake Morrison sprinted down the hallway, his boots pounding against the metal deck. His chest burned, not from the run, but from the fear rising in his gut. He had served 15 years in the Earth Defense Fleet. He had seen pirate raids, rogue asteroids, and one brief skirmish with a distant colony. But never this. The ship on their screens was massive, bigger than any human vessel by 100 times, and it was falling apart. By the time Jake reached the control room, his crew was already in chaos. "Status," he barked. Lieutenant Ben Carter, hunched over his console, looked up with pale eyes. "It's alien, Captain. No known design. 3 distinct life signatures inside. The ship is." He hesitated, dying, 2 days at most before it breaks apart completely. Jake's gaze shot to the main screen. The alien vessel looked like it was held together by rust, melted plating, and prayer. Pieces drifted off into space. Fires burned along the hull. It looked less like a ship and more like the ghost of one. "Have they answered our hails?" Jake asked. "No, sir, nothing but static." Jake stood silently for a long moment. First contact with aliens should have been a celebration, a miracle. Instead, humanity's introduction to galactic life was a dying vessel drifting toward Earth. "Keep trying," he ordered, then softer. "And get Dr. Lisa Carter up here. If we're making contact with something new, I want the best mind on the planet." 20 minutes later, the doors slid open and Dr. Lisa Carter walked in. Small, gray-haired, her eyes carried the weight of a lifetime studying the possibility of alien life. And now, here it was. She stared at the scans, her voice trembling. 3 different species aboard. One crystalline, one aquatic, one made of pure energy. I've never seen anything like it. Before Jake could answer, the radio crackled. A voice broke through, strange, layered, like 3 people speaking at once. "Earth ship, we are sorry to enter your space. We are refugees. We seek only to pass through. We will be gone soon." Jake grabbed the microphone. His voice was steady, even though his heart hammered. "This is Captain Morrison of Earth Defense. Your ship looks damaged. Do you need help?" A long silence followed. Then the alien voice returned, surprised. "You offer help. We are outcasts. Every world turns us away. We do not understand." Lisa stepped forward, her scientist's heart stronger than her fear. She leaned into the radio. "This is Dr. Carter. We want to understand. Who are you? What happened to you?" The answer came in fragments. "I am Reef Singer of the Nautilin people, cast out because we are too loyal to our families." Another voice, like music through stone. "I am Harmony of Stone of the Zephyrians, exiled because we feel emotions too strongly." A third, a sound like electric wind. "I am Bright Fade of the Lumina, banished because we think about death. The galaxy calls us dangerous." Lisa whispered to Jake, her eyes wide. They were rejected for being emotional, loyal, and curious about mortality. "Jake, those are human traits." Jake looked back at the microphone. His decision was instant. "Reef Singer, Harmony of Stone, Bright Fade. You are welcome to land on Earth. We will help repair your ship and give you supplies." The silence that followed was so heavy it felt like the air itself was holding its breath. Finally, the watery voice of Reef Singer returned. "You would help us, even knowing the galaxy rejects us." Jake's voice was firm. "Especially because of that." 2 hours later, President Helen Rodriguez sat in the White House Situation Room, watching the alien vessel crawl toward Earth on the screen. It was more broken than any human engineer could believe still flew. "Madame President," Jake's voice came over the feed, "the Galactic Consortium has already warned us. If we help these refugees, they say Earth will be marked as contaminated. We could lose all contact with the galaxy." The president's dark eyes narrowed. Her grandmother had once been a refugee fleeing war. No one had wanted to take her in, but America had given her a home. Now the same choice sat in front of her. She looked at Jake on the screen. "What do you think we should do, Captain?" Jake didn't hesitate. "They're not criminals, they're not dangerous. They were cast out for being too human. I think we should help them." Dr. Carter's voice came from off-screen. "Madame President, their abilities could change everything. The Zephyrians can sense emotion like a sixth sense. The Nautilins can reshape oceans and grow cities from coral. The Lumina understand energy in ways we can't imagine. They could help us if we give them a chance. The president stared at the broken alien ship, drifting closer. The galaxy wanted her to turn them away. Her people were afraid. Her heart remembered her grandmother. Her decision would change the future of humanity. "Tell them," she said finally, her voice strong, "they are welcome to land." The alien ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a wounded bird. Whole sections of its hull glowed red from the heat, but somehow it held together. Fighter escorts flew alongside it, ready to intervene if something went wrong. Every television, every device on Earth streamed the event. Humanity's first official contact wasn't with conquerors, but with outcasts. 3 landing sites had been chosen: the Pacific Ocean, the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, and the Nevada Desert. The ocean landing. Dr. Lisa Carter stood on the deck of a naval carrier anchored off the coast of California. Waves rocked the massive ship, sailors rushing about nervously. They all froze when the alien vessel's lower section opened like a flower, releasing spheres that dropped into the water below. The sea boiled with light as the Nautilins emerged. Their leader, Reef Singer, rose from the waves first. His blue-green skin shimmered like liquid glass. His eyes were large, soulful, almost human, but older, as though they had seen centuries of loss. Behind him came dozens more. Some carried strange coral-like tools. Some carried small children with tails like merfolk. Reef Singer lifted his head toward Lisa and spoke, his voice like music underwater. "We do not understand why you help us. Every other world told us to leave. Some fired weapons at us." Lisa knelt at the edge of the deck, lowering herself to his level. The cameras zoomed in on her face. "Because when people need help, you help them. That's what makes us human." The Nautilin children peeked out from behind their parents, curious and afraid. Reef Singer's gaze softened. "What if helping us brings you trouble?" Lisa smiled gently. "Then we'll face that trouble together." The mountain landing. High in the Colorado Rockies, soldiers and scientists stood among snow-capped peaks. They shivered in the thin air as the alien ship lowered a crystalline pod onto the mountainside. When the walls unfolded, sunlight caught on faceted bodies and scattered into 1,000 rainbows. The Zephyrians stepped out. They were living crystal, humanoid in shape, but their surfaces shimmered with shifting colors that mirrored their emotions. Their leader, Harmony of Stone, walked forward. His tall form glowed with warm gold and soft blue. Human soldiers raised weapons instinctively, but lowered them when Harmony of Stone spoke. His voice was like wind through a canyon. "We cry because we are happy. The consortium said our emotions made us weak, but you do not seem to think so." Sergeant Amy Peterson, assigned to the landing team, watched as crystal children laughed and chased each other in the snow. Their bodies glowed brighter when happy, dimmer when sad. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. She stepped forward and said softly, "Emotions aren't weakness, they're what make life worth living." Harmony of Stone bowed, his crystalline body scattering light across the mountain. "Then perhaps we were meant to find this world." The desert landing. In Nevada's barren desert, the air shimmered with heat as alien structures unfolded from the ship's lower chamber. They weren't built, they grew, humming with power, glowing with inner light. The Lumina emerged. They were beings of energy, their forms shifting, radiant silhouettes that seemed half there, half not. Their leader, Bright Fade, appeared as a figure of pure white flame. Scientists stood at a safe distance, their instruments buzzing with readings they couldn't understand. Bright Fade's voice carried like a melody of electric currents. "We think about death because we want to understand life. The consortium said this was unhealthy, but how can one live well without understanding the end?" Dr. Danny Walsh, a physicist from Las Vegas, stepped forward nervously. He had spent his whole career studying energy, but nothing compared to this. "We've been asking the same question for thousands of years," he admitted. "Maybe together we can finally figure it out." Bright Fade pulsed brighter, almost like a smile. "Then let us learn together." Around the world. The broadcast spread across every continent. Billions of humans watched the alien landings. Some wept at the sight of crystal children playing in snow. Some cheered as Nautilin families built coral shelters on the ocean floor. Others stared in wonder at the glowing beings raising towers of light in the desert. But not everyone rejoiced. Protests broke out. Signs reading Earth for humans filled city streets. Politicians demanded answers. Was Earth risking its future for strangers? Would the galaxy punish them for compassion? In Washington, President Helen Rodriguez sat with her advisors. Some urged caution. Others begged her to reverse course. But she remained firm. They are here, they need us, and the truth is we need them too. Weeks of change. In the following weeks, the world changed in ways no one had imagined. In California, Sam Fletcher, a marine biologist, donned a nautilin breathing mask and swam beneath the Pacific. What he saw stunned him. The nautilins weren't just surviving, they were building. Coral towers grew into cities. Sea plants bent into walls and rooms. Fish swam through glowing arches of living architecture. Reef Singer swam beside him. We work with the ocean, not against it. We sing to the coral and it grows the way we need. We ask the plants to make homes and they do. Your people cut and force. We ask and cooperate. Sam looked around at the underwater city. It wasn't just beautiful, it was sustainable, alive. You could help us solve housing shortages, he whispered. We could help you build underwater cities, Reef Singer replied. Together. In Colorado, Amy Peterson learned from Harmony of Stone, inside a crystal cave grown from the mountain itself. You are sad, Harmony said gently, his body glowing with soft violet. Amy lowered her eyes. Today is the anniversary of my family's death. They died in an earthquake. I couldn't save them. Harmony's light softened further. We feel the mountains speak before they shake. We can teach you to hear. Your family's death was not your fault, Amy, but perhaps it can save others. He placed a crystal hand against the stone wall. Amy felt vibrations she had never noticed before, tiny tremors deep below. For the first time, she realized the earth was speaking. In Nevada, Danny Walsh studied the Lumina's strange chambers. Bright fade revealed something astonishing, the ability to map consciousness itself. Energy cannot be destroyed, Bright Fade explained. It only changes form, so too with thought, with memory, with self. Danny stared at the data, his hands shaking. You're saying we can preserve minds, even when the body dies. Not immortality, Bright Fade corrected. Understanding. When you know that part of you continues, fear becomes smaller, life becomes greater. Fear and resistance. But while science leapt forward, fear grew stronger too. In Washington, Senator Charles Bradley stood before cameras, his face red with anger. 6 months ago, we were humans. Now our children want to live underwater. Our scientists think they can talk to rocks. Our doctors claim death is no longer permanent. This isn't progress, it's contamination. Behind him, protesters waved flags, send the aliens home, protect humanity. The first terrorist attack came a week later. A group of extremists tried to destroy a nautilin settlement with explosives. They failed, but the message was clear. Not everyone wanted aliens on Earth. Soon after, poison gas was released near the Zephyrian Caves in Colorado. Their emotional sensitivity allowed them to flee before harm, but trust was shaken. In Nevada, anti-alien militias aimed electromagnetic weapons at the Lumina chambers. The weapons failed. The Lumina simply absorbed the energy, but the hatred was undeniable. The consortium's shadow. And then came the final blow. In Earth's orbit, sensors detected movement. At first, analysts thought it was debris. Then the screens filled with silver ships, dozens, hundreds. Captain Jake Morrison stood at Earth Defense Command, staring at the incoming fleet. His blood ran cold. Sir, Lieutenant Ben Carter said, voice trembling, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Consortium. The screen flickered. A tall, gray-skinned alien appeared, his eyes black and cold, his uniform gleaming silver. I am Admiral Kethvar of the Galactic Consortium, he said, his voice flat and emotionless. Earth has violated galactic purity protocols. By harboring the rejected, you have contaminated your world. You will surrender the outcasts in 7 Earth days or face quarantine and isolation from all galactic civilization. The control room fell silent. Jake clenched his fists. He thought of Reef Singer's children hiding behind their parents, Harmony's crystal tears, Bright Fade's glowing wisdom. He thought of his people who had only just begun to hope. 7 days, that was all they had. The United Nations building in New York City buzzed with fear and fury. Leaders from across the world gathered under a single roof, their faces pale as the hologram of Admiral Kethvar loomed over the chamber. The alien's voice was cold, calculated, without even the pretense of empathy. The three species you harbor are evolutionary mistakes. The Zephyrians are ruled by unstable emotions. The Nautilins cling to family loyalty above logic. The Lumina are obsessed with death. They were expelled for the safety of the galaxy. By protecting them, you invite contamination. You have 7 Earth days. Surrender them or Earth will be cut off. No trade, no knowledge, no contact. You will be alone in the dark. The hologram flickered out. The chamber erupted into chaos. Division in the ranks. President Helen Rodriguez sat with her head bowed, listening as leaders argued over each other. Some shouted that Earth could not afford to lose contact with the galaxy, not when they had just discovered it. Others demanded that the aliens be expelled at once. A few spoke of loyalty and morality, of standing by those in need. Dr. Lisa Carter stood and raised her voice until it cut through the noise. They were cast out for being emotional, loyal, and curious about mortality. Those aren't weaknesses. Those are human strengths. If we abandon them, we abandon ourselves. But Senator Charles Bradley, red-faced and furious, slammed his hand against the table. Strength, you call this strength? Already these outcasts are changing us. Housing projects underwater. Crystal caves predicting earthquakes. Mad scientists claiming death is no longer the end. If we surrender them, we preserve humanity. If we keep them, we become them. Jake Morrison leaned against the wall, watching. His jaw clenched as Bradley spat words like poison. The man had never looked into Reef Singer's eyes, never seen harmony of Stone's tears, never felt bright Fade's glow. Bradley didn't see people. He saw contamination. Senator, Jake said evenly, they're not changing us into something worse. They're helping us become something better. Bradley sneered, better or less human. A president's burden. Hours later, President Rodriguez sat alone in her private chamber, staring out at the night sky over New York. The stars were hidden behind clouds, but she could feel them pressing down, the weight of the galaxy itself. Her grandmother's face haunted her. A refugee, a woman no one wanted, and yet America had taken her in. Without that choice, Helen Rodriguez would never have been born. She pressed her palms together and whispered to the dark. What kind of people do we want to be? Secrets in the mountains. Meanwhile, in a bunker deep beneath the Colorado Rockies, Captain Jake Morrison spread holographic maps across a steel table. Around him stood Dr. Carter, Amy Peterson, Sam Fletcher, Danny Walsh, and a dozen advisors. Jake tapped the hologram. We've been monitoring the consortium fleet. Their formation is strange. There are gaps, not random. They're positioned around certain star systems. Dr. Carter leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. Quarantine formations. Exactly, Jake said. At least 40 star systems, blockaded, cut off for decades, maybe longer. The room fell silent. Sam Fletcher broke it first. You mean we're not the only ones? Jake nodded grimly. No, there are others, other worlds that refuse to hand over the rejected, other worlds that chose compassion over compliance. We don't know if they survived, but if they did. They could be allies, Amy finished. Danny Walsh exhaled slowly. 40 quarantine systems, 40 chances we're not alone. Lisa Carter's hands trembled with excitement. The consortium isn't just afraid of contamination, they're afraid of connection. They've spent centuries trying to isolate anyone who dares to value family, emotion, or mortality. If we break that isolation, we change the galaxy, Jake said. The refugees debate. That same night in the Nautilin underwater settlement off California, the 3 alien leaders met. Reef Singer floated in a chamber of glowing coral. Harmony of Stone sat like a crystal statue, light rippling across his body. Bright Fade shimmered like a star in human form. Reef Singer's voice was heavy with sorrow. My people want to leave. They say we have brought Earth enough trouble. We cannot ask children of another world to pay for our exile. Harmony's colors darkened. My people say the same, but leaving feels like betraying family. These humans treated us better than our own galaxy ever did. Bright Fade pulsed with energy. Humans have given us something we thought was lost forever. Hope. Not just for survival, for a life worth living, but staying will condemn them. Then perhaps we should go, Reef Singer whispered. No, Harmony said firmly, his crystal light burning brighter. Perhaps we should fight. Bright Fade tilted, their voice like humming wires. Not with weapons, with who we are. Show the galaxy that what they call weakness is strength. Human evolution. Back in the Colorado bunker, Tony Rodriguez, the president's nephew and a brilliant engineer, brought his own discovery. Aunt Helen, he said, speaking to the president through secure feed. I've been working with their technology, and I think I know why the consortium really fears them. He activated the hologram. It showed brain scans and energy readings. The Zephyrians aren't just emotional. When they connect, they link minds, temporary but real. They can coordinate as if they share one thought. The display shifted. Nautilin family groups appeared, their brain patterns intertwined. Nautilin sense each other's needs instantly. Entire families move as a single organism. The final scan showed Lumina energy patterns during meditation. They can sense life itself. They know when someone is hurt before it happens, maybe even before the person knows. Dr. Carter stared. They're not just emotionally connected, they're biologically designed to work together. Tony nodded. And after 6 months with humans, it's spreading. Sam Fletcher senses water currents like a nautilin. Amy feels stress in rocks like a Zephyrian. Danny can detect energy patterns like a Lumina. Humans are changing, evolving. The room went still. President Rodriguez whispered through the feed. That's why the consortium wants them gone. Not because they're weak, but because together we're getting stronger. The fleet moves. 3 days passed, negotiations stalled, protests worsened, fear spread like wildfire. Then alarms screamed through Earth Defense Command. Lieutenant Ben Carter's voice was tight. Captain, the consortium fleet is moving. They're surrounding Earth now. They're not waiting for the deadline. Jake stared at the screens as silver ships filled orbit, blotting out the stars. Hundreds of them. Admiral Kethvar's voice came through the comms, flat and merciless. Contamination spreads faster than expected. Immediate action is required. You have 6 hours to surrender the outcasts. After that, we will take them by force. Jake's stomach twisted. He thought of Reef Singer's children, Harmony's glowing tears, Bright Fade's calm wisdom. 6 hours. That was all that remained. A scientist's question. In the bunker, Dr. Carter stepped up to the holographic link with Admiral Kethvar. Her voice was sharp, cutting through his icy tone. Admiral, in all your centuries of logic and efficiency, have you ever solved every problem? If your system is so perfect, why do you keep casting out species? Why do these flaws keep appearing? For the first time, Kethvar hesitated. His black eyes flickered. They are recurring anomalies in biological development. No, Carter said. They are necessary. They are the parts of life your system cannot account for, and the more you suppress them, the stronger they return. Jake stepped forward. You've quarantined 40 systems. If compassion and connection are evolutionary dead ends, why do civilizations keep choosing them? Why do they keep surviving? Kethvar's expression hardened, but his silence was answer enough. The countdown. The ultimatum spread across the world like wildfire. News anchors whispered of doomsday. Families huddled together. Soldiers prepared for war. In Nevada, Bright Fade pulsed brighter than ever, whispering to Danny Walsh. Your people fear death too much. That fear will destroy you before any fleet can. But if you can let go of fear, if you can live fully, even knowing the end comes, then you will be unstoppable. In the mountains, Harmony's people felt the earth rumble, not from quakes but from tension in human hearts. They are afraid, Harmony whispered to Amy, but fear is only the shadow of hope. In the ocean, Reef Singer held his children close. If we die tomorrow, he told them softly, remember that for one brief moment we were home. The countdown ticked mercilessly. 6 hours dwindled to minutes. Earth skis glowed with the silver light of hundreds of consortium warships. Their formations were flawless, like blades pointed directly at the planet's heart. Captain Jake Morrison stood in Earth Defense Command, every screen filled with warnings. Fighters scrambled. Orbital cannons warmed. But deep inside, Jake knew the truth. Earth's meager fleet couldn't stand against this armada. Lieutenant Ben Carter's voice cracked, as he pointed to his console. "Sir, new contacts, lots of them. They're not consortium signatures." Jake's heart stuttered. "Then what are they?" The main screen bloomed with strange new shapes. Dozens of vessels emerged from hyperspace. Some were jagged and crystalline, glowing with shifting light. Others swam through space like living rivers, flowing in impossible patterns. Still others pulsed with radiant energy like stars bound in metal. And among them, ships that looked almost human, but not quite, as though human design had merged with alien creativity. Communications burst alive. Voices filled the speakers. "This is Captain Maria Santos of the colony ship New Hope. Earth Defense Command, you are not alone." The quarantined worlds. Dr. Lisa Carter rushed into the control room, her breath catching as the screen filled with unfamiliar faces. Alien captains, strange beings of crystal, energy, water, and forms Jake couldn't even name. Some looked nearly human, their features twisted by subtle differences, like cousins long forgotten. One voice, clear and strong, came from the largest ship. "For over a century, the consortium told us we were contaminated, that we were mistakes. They sealed us in quarantine, kept us apart, made us think we were alone. But you, Earth, you reminded us that outcasts are family." Another voice joined, deep and steady. "This is Commander Chen Wei of Harmony Station. We were exiled for valuing art and creativity over production. The consortium said beauty was waste, but we survived." A third voice, proud and fierce. "This is Captain John Running Bear of the Spirit Walker. Our people were rejected for keeping spiritual traditions. The consortium said our faith was weakness, but it gave us strength." A fourth, softer, urgent. "This is Dr. Anna Kowalski of the Discovery. We were cast out for questioning consortium policies. They called us dangerous, but we kept asking and we endured." One by one, the quarantined worlds spoke. 40 systems, each with their own story of exile and survival. Jake felt his chest tighten. Humanity had thought itself alone in this choice, but there were others, dozens of others, waiting for someone to say you are not wrong for caring. The consortium's fury. Admiral Kethvar's hologram filled the control room again, his black eyes colder than ice. "This is violation of quarantine protocols. All ships from quarantined systems will return to their designated space immediately. Earth, you will surrender the refugees at once. This is your final warning." But Captain Santos of New Hope answered first, her voice steady. "Admiral, we've hidden long enough. Today we come out of the shadows. Today we choose to live free." Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the transmissions live. For the first time in centuries, the outcasts spoke in unison, and the consortium trembled. "The battle begins." The consortium fleet opened fire first. Beams of pure plasma slashed across space. Missiles screamed toward Earth. Entire swarms of drone fighters surged forward. But the Free Worlds Alliance, improvised, chaotic, diverse, did not break. Crystal ships absorbed plasma fire, their hulls glowing brighter before redirecting the energy back in searing beams. Nautilin-inspired ships twisted and curved, flowing through space like schools of fish, impossible to target. Lumina vessels let weapons pass through their radiant bodies, energy sliding harmlessly away. And the hybrid human ships, strange, unpredictable, built with desperate creativity, fought with wild tactics that made no logical sense. They dove, they feinted, they improvised on the spot. Consortium formations wavered under the weight of their chaos. In the control room, Jake clenched his fists. "They're not fighting as individuals," he whispered. "They're fighting like family." On the ground, Earth's surface became a second front. Zephyrians glowed brightly in Colorado caves, linking their emotions to guide the Free World's fleet. Nautilins in the Pacific sang into the oceans, sending sonic pulses that stabilized communications across half the planet. Lumina in Nevada projected vast energy fields, protecting Earth's satellites and defense systems. And humans, ordinary humans, stood alongside them. Marines guarded Nautilin children. Scientists linked arms with Zephyrian crystal healers. Engineers worked shoulder to shoulder with Lumina energy beings. Amy Peterson felt the Earth's tremors beneath her feet and relayed predictions to pilots above. Sam Fletcher swam with Nautilins, relaying naval maneuvers through sonar. Danny Walsh pulsed with energy, channeling power between Alliance vessels in ways no machine could. For the first time in history, humans were not just defenders of Earth. They were part of something larger. The Consortium's shock. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, his emotionless mask beginning to crack. He watched as his fleet, perfect, precise, flawless, was thrown into chaos. "They fight like disorder," his second-in-command said, eyes wide. "But somehow it works. They are unpredictable." Kethvar's jaw tightened. "They are contaminated. They fight like primitives." But even he couldn't ignore the sight of his ships being repaired by their enemies. Alliance vessels didn't just attack, they rescued. They pulled Consortium pilots from broken fighters. They stabilized crippled enemy cruisers. They offered help even in the middle of battle. Kethvar's fists clenched. "Why are they helping us? They should be destroying us." The answer came from an open channel, Captain Santos's voice carrying across every frequency. "Because that's what families do, Admiral. They help each other even when they fight." For the first time in centuries, Admiral Kethvar felt something alien creep into his chest. Doubt. The wounded flagship. Then disaster struck. A Consortium dreadnought, crippled by redirected crystal fire, careened into the flagship. Explosions tore across Kethvar's ship. Power conduits failed. Oxygen levels plummeted. Standard protocol dictated immediate evacuation, abandon the weak, save only essential officers. But before the order was given, something impossible happened. Alliance ships surrounded the flagship. Lumina energy flowed into failing systems, stopping the cascade. Zephyrian crystal sealed the hull breaches. Nautilin technology flooded life support with fresh oxygen. In less than an hour, the Consortium flagship was not only saved, it was improved. Admiral Kethvar stared in stunned silence. "You saved us." Dr. Lisa Carter boarded with a medical team, walking straight up to him. "Not you," she said softly. "Your people, because they deserve saving even when their leaders call others mistakes." Kethvar's black eyes narrowed. "You risked everything for enemies." Lisa met his gaze without fear. "Because you're not enemies. You're just afraid of difference, afraid of change, afraid of anything you can't control." For the first time in centuries, Admiral Kethvar had no reply. A turning point. The battle slowed. Alliance and Consortium ships drifted side by side, repairing damage, tending to wounded. Soldiers who hours ago had been enemies now passed tools, shared food, exchanged words. On Earth, President Rodriguez watched the feeds with tears in her eyes. Against all odds, humanity had done what no one else dared. They had shown compassion in the middle of war. But just as hope bloomed, sensors screamed again. Lieutenant Ben Carter's face drained of color. "Captain, more contacts. Thousands. It's another Consortium fleet, the main force." Jake's blood ran cold. "If this is just the Vanguard." The screen filled with endless silver, a wall of ships blotting out the stars. Admiral Kethvar looked up at the sight. For the first time in his long career, the perfect logic of the Consortium offered him no answers. The stars vanished. That was how it felt when the main Consortium fleet emerged from hyperspace. Thousands of silver ships, sleek and identical, spread across Earth's skis. Their formation was so perfect it looked like a single wall of metal, stretching from horizon to horizon. Every system on Earth Defense Command screamed red. Captain Jake Morrison gripped the railing in the command center, his knuckles white. "This," he whispered, "this is an extermination force." Lieutenant Ben Carter swallowed hard. "Sir, this fleet is 10 times larger than the first. They're broadcasting a single message. Surrender the outcasts or Earth will be sterilized." The words echoed like a death sentence. The President's choice. In New York, President Helen Rodriguez sat in the secure chamber with her generals, scientists, and the alien leaders. Her voice shook, but not from fear, only from the weight of the decision before her. "They want us to hand over Reef Singer, Harmony of Stone, and Bright Fade. If we refuse, Earth may not survive." Harmony's crystalline body dimmed. "We will go willingly. My people cannot bear to see your children suffer for us." Reef Singer's voice was like waves crashing against stone. "Better that we die than you lose your world." Bright Fade shimmered like a star about to collapse. "Hope cannot bloom if it is crushed in its seed. Perhaps our time has ended." But Lisa Carter slammed her hands on the table, her voice fierce. No, you don't understand. The consortium doesn't fear you because you're weak. They fear you because you're strong, because what you are is spreading. Humans are beginning to change. Together, we're evolving into something new. That's what they're trying to stop. The president looked around the room, seeing the truth in Lisa's eyes. Then she rose to her feet, her voice steady and clear. Earth doesn't surrender its friends. Not now, not ever. The first strikes. The consortium wasted no time. Their second fleet descended through Earth's orbit, thousands of cannons firing at once. Beams of plasma raked across the sky. Entire satellites burned up in firestorms. The Free World's alliance fought back. Crystal ships absorbed volleys, redirecting energy in blinding bursts. Nautilin craft flowed through enemy lines, weaving impossible patterns. Lumina vessels pulsed like suns, deflecting weapon fire. And the hybrid human ships dove into the chaos with wild creativity, darting and weaving in ways no algorithm could predict. But for every consortium ship destroyed, 10 more took its place. The sky itself seemed endless with silver. Jake's voice cut through the chaos. They're too many, we can't match them ship for ship. The hidden strength. In the Rockies, Amy Peterson stood in the crystal caves with Harmony of Stone and his people. She felt the earth trembling, not with quakes, but with fear. Human fear. Harmony's voice was soft, resonant. Your people's fear shakes the ground, but fear is only the shadow of hope. Let us show you how to turn it into strength. The Zephyrians joined hands, their bodies glowing brighter. Amy felt their emotions flood into her, sorrow, joy, love, grief, all shared without words. She gasped as their light spread into her chest. For the first time, she felt connected to every heartbeat around her. Her calm crackled. It was Jake's voice, frantic. We need coordination. We're losing ships everywhere. Amy closed her eyes. She reached into the glow, linking herself to Harmony's people. The Zephyrians focused, amplifying her mind. Suddenly, Amy wasn't just one woman. She felt the positions of every Free World's vessel. She knew where they needed to be, when to move, when to strike. Her voice carried through the comms, calm and certain. Left flank pull back, redirect crystal fire to Sector 6. Nautilin ships school formation now. Across the battlefield, chaos turned to harmony. The Free Worlds moved as one, coordinated by empathy itself. Jake's eyes widened at the sudden precision. Who's directing this? Amy's voice came through, soft but unshakable. I am with Harmony's people. We're linked. Jake exhaled, his chest tight with awe. Then don't stop, don't you dare stop. In the deep. Beneath the Pacific, Sam Fletcher swam beside Reef Singer, coral cities glowing all around them. The Nautilin sang in deep, haunting tones. Coral responded, growing faster, bending into new forms. Reef Singer looked at Sam, his voice like currents through water. Your world is drowning in fear. Let us show you how to breathe in it. He placed his hands on Sam's chest. The song surged through him. Suddenly, Sam felt the entire ocean as if it were his body, the tides, the currents, the pulsing life of millions of creatures. Above, Alliance ships faltered as consortium reinforcements pushed hard. Sam's voice erupted through sonar channels, carried on currents, echoing across every Nautilin craft. Flow together, move as one tide, strike like waves breaking stone. The Nautilin fleet shifted instantly, schools of ships moving with impossible unity. Consortium lines broke under the relentless surge. In the desert. In Nevada, Danny Walsh stood inside a Lumina energy chamber. Bright fade pulsed beside him, their voice electric and steady. Your people cling to life so desperately that you waste it. Let us show you how to let go. Danny's chest tightened. Let go, you mean die. No, to live without fear of death. To live knowing that even in the end, something of you continues. Light surged into Danny's mind. He gasped as he felt it, the patterns of thought, memory, love, grief etched into energy. The fear of death that had haunted him his whole life dissolved. What replaced it was not recklessness, but courage. He spread his arms, letting energy flow through him. The Lumina pulsed brighter, linking to him. Across the fleet, power surged, weapons burned hotter, shields held stronger. On the command deck, Jake's eyes widened as readings spiked. Where the hell is all this power coming from? Bright Fade's voice carried across the comms. From courage. The battle shifts. For the first time, the free worlds pushed back the Second Fleet. Ships that had been scattered now moved with impossible unity. Power surged where it was needed. Coordination came as if from a single mind. On his flagship, Admiral Kethvar watched with disbelief. This cannot be. Logic should always triumph over chaos. His second-in-command's voice was tight. Sir, they're not fighting with chaos anymore. They're fighting with something else, something we cannot measure. Kethvar clenched his fists. Then we will crush it. He raised his hand. Bring in the sterilization platforms. The doomsday weapon. At the edge of the fleet, massive silver constructs emerged. They were larger than any ship orbital weapons designed to erase entire worlds. Their cores glowed with unstable energy. Jake's stomach twisted when he saw the readings. Oh God, they're not here to win a battle. They're here to burn Earth clean. The sterilization platforms charged, their glow bright enough to rival the sun. If they fired, Earth would be nothing but ash. The decision. In the White House, President Rodriguez stood, her heart hammering as reports streamed in. Billions of lives hung in the balance. The aliens she had chosen to protect. Her own people, the future itself. Madame President, a general said, voice shaking. If those weapons fire, nothing will stop them. We need to consider surrender. Rodriguez's jaw tightened. She thought of her grandmother, a refugee who had been told she was unwanted. She thought of Reef Singer's children, Harmony's glowing tears, Bright Fade's wisdom. She thought of Earth itself, standing on the edge of annihilation. No, she whispered, we don't surrender, not today. In orbit, the sterilization platforms reached full charge. Their cores flared white, brighter than lightning. The consortium prepared to end Earth in a single strike. On the command deck, Jake's voice rang out. All ships brace for impact. But before the weapons could fire, something impossible happened. The sterilization platforms flickered and then went dark. Confused voices filled consortium channels. Systems failing, cores destabilized. On Earth, Harmony of Stone gasped, his crystal body blazing. The mountains, the planet itself is speaking. The ground trembled, the oceans roared, the skies lit with strange auroras, Earth itself seemed to awaken. The consortium's sterilization platforms, machines built to erase worlds, hung silent in orbit. Their blazing cores flickered, then died. Across the battlefield, both fleets froze. For a moment, the war stopped. In Earth Defense Command, Captain Jake Morrison stared at the blank readings on his console. They shut down, but how? Who did it? Lieutenant Ben Carter shook his head, voice tight with disbelief. Sir, nobody did. They just stopped. The planet speaks. Deep in the Rockies, Sergeant Amy Peterson felt the ground tremble beneath her boots. She stood in the glowing, crystal caves with Harmony of Stone. His body shone brighter than ever, colors rippling like a living prism. The mountains speak, Harmony whispered. The Earth itself joins us. Your planet listens because you listen. We amplify it together. Amy pressed her hand against the wall of stone. For the first time, she felt the slow heartbeat of the world. Tectonic plates shifting, magma flowing, vibrations echoing like whispers from the planet's soul. It's alive, she breathed. It has always been alive, Harmony said gently, but now, for the first time, it is heard. In the depths, beneath the Pacific, Sam Fletcher swam through Nautilin coral towers as earthquakes rattled the sea floor. Reef Singer swam beside him, his skin shimmering like sunlight on water. The ocean sings with your people, Reef said. For the first time, humans add their voices to the tide. The ocean rises to defend them. Sam's senses expanded, every current pulling at his mind. The Nautilins joined hands, and their song became a roaring chorus. Coral grew faster, bending into massive living fortresses. Entire reefs shifted, lifting like shields against orbital bombardment. Sam's voice carried through sonar, trembling with awe. We're not just building with the ocean anymore. We are part of it. In the desert. In Nevada, physicist Danny Walsh stood in the center of a Lumina energy chamber. Bright Fade pulsed beside him, their voice like a storm of music. Your planet breathes energy, Bright Fade said. For centuries you wasted it, now you share it, now it answers. Electric arcs shot across the sky as storm clouds gathered unnaturally fast. Lightning struck consortium ships in orbit, guided by unseen hands. Solar flares rippled from the sun, But instead of chaos, they bent harmlessly around Earth, as though the planet itself had become shielded. Danny raised his hands, feeling the surge of energy flow through him. Fear of death had once paralyzed him. Now it no longer mattered. Life and death were just two sides of the same current, and he was standing in the river. Confusion in the fleet. On the Consortium flagship, Admiral Kethvar's black eyes narrowed as readings flickered across his display. "Explain this," he barked. His second-in-command stammered. "Admiral, their planet, Earth, it is generating anomalous signals. Energy spikes, tectonic disturbances, electromagnetic storms. It's as if," he hesitated, "as if the planet itself is fighting." Kethvar's jaw tightened. For the first time, cold certainty failed him. "No world can fight. Planets are resources, tools, stones in space. They do not resist." And yet Earth resisted. The turning tide. With the sterilization weapons dead, the Free Worlds Alliance struck back. Zephyrians coordinated fleets with emotional resonance. Nautolins surged like tides, breaking Consortium formations. Lumina poured energy into shields and weapons, turning fragile vessels into suns of fire. And humans improvised, adapted, fought with chaotic brilliance that no algorithm could predict. Consortium cruisers faltered. Precision gave way to panic. For the first time in centuries, the perfect wall of order cracked. Jake slammed his fist onto the console. "Press the advantage, don't let them recover." Alliance ships surged forward, their chaotic harmony overwhelming the rigid lines of silver. The Admiral's dilemma. Admiral Kethvar stood alone in the command chamber, staring at the chaos beyond his viewport. His hands trembled, not with fear of death, but with something worse: doubt. For centuries, the Consortium had silenced difference. They had erased weakness. They had enforced purity. It had worked. It had kept the galaxy orderly, peaceful, predictable. But here was Earth, a single contaminated world, tearing apart his fleets not with superior firepower, but with unity born of difference. His aide whispered, "Admiral, perhaps we should retreat." "Retreat," Kethvar's voice cracked, a rare fissure in his armor. "To retreat is to admit we were wrong." "Perhaps," the aide said softly, "we are." Kethvar turned sharply, his black eyes blazing. But for a moment, just a moment, he said nothing. A desperate gamble. The Consortium wasn't finished. Thousands of drones poured from their carriers, swarming like a storm of silver insects. They targeted the refugee settlements on Earth's surface, the Nautolin coral cities, the Zephyrian caves, the Lumina chambers. Jake's blood ran cold as reports streamed in. "They're targeting civilians, entire settlements, if they get through." Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Then we stop them, not just with weapons, with what we are." She looked at Reef Singer, harmony of stone and bright fade. "It's time." The three leaders nodded. They joined hands, or the closest thing their bodies had to hands, and their energies flared. The Zephyrians glowed, the Nautolins sang, the Lumina pulsed with radiant fire. Lisa felt herself pulled into the connection. So did Jake. So did Amy, Sam, and Danny. Humans and aliens alike. Their thoughts and emotions braided together, a tapestry of loyalty, love, courage, fear, and hope. The drones hit the settlements and shattered against invisible walls of will. It wasn't a shield of metal or energy. It was something else, something new. A new force. Admiral Kethvar watched in disbelief as swarms of drones disintegrated mid-flight. His scanners showed no weapons, no defenses, nothing that made sense. "What is this?" he demanded. His aide stared at the readings, trembling. "Admiral, it's not technology, it's them. The outcasts, the humans, they're resonating together, they've become something larger." Kethvar's hands shook. He had built his life on certainty, but here certainty failed. This should not be possible. And yet it was. The human spark. Inside the connection, Jake felt everything. Reef Singer's sorrow, Harmony's determination, Bright Fade's curiosity. Amy's grief, Sam's wonder, Danny's courage. Billions of human voices whispering in the background, fear, love, desperation, hope. For the first time, humanity wasn't alone. They weren't even just human. They were something greater, something the Consortium had spent centuries trying to bury. Jake's voice echoed through the link, not just to his crew, but to the entire alliance. "We don't win by being stronger. We win by being together. Every world they cast out, every outcast, they were wrong about you, about us. Difference isn't contamination, it's the cure. The link surged brighter, brighter than any star. Consortium drones melted in its light. The final threat. But even as the tide turned, Kethvar made his move. His flagship pulled back, revealing a final weapon hidden within. Larger than any ship, a colossal spear of silver metal unfurled, an ancient doomsday relic of the Consortium. Its core pulsed with unstable antimatter. His voice carried across every channel, louder and harsher than ever before. If I cannot sterilize your planet, I will erase it entirely. Earth will not live to defy us. The weapon charged, a growing sun of annihilation at its heart. Jake's stomach turned to ice. Even with all their unity, even with Earth itself awakened, this could end everything. The Consortium's ultimate weapon loomed above Earth, a silver spear the size of a continent, its core blazing with antimatter. If it fired, not even ashes of the planet would remain. Admiral Kethvar's voice thundered across every channel. You think yourselves strong, but you are only contagion. I will burn you away and restore order to the galaxy. The Free Worlds Alliance fell silent. Billions of lives, human and alien, waited on the edge of extinction. The choice. In Earth Defense Command, Captain Jake Morrison stared at the growing star of antimatter. His crew watched him, waiting for an order he couldn't give. They couldn't shoot it down, they couldn't run. Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward, her face pale but her eyes steady. He doesn't fear destruction. He fears being wrong. He's willing to erase us to preserve his certainty. Jake's chest tightened. Then how do we stop him? Lisa's voice was quiet but unshakable. Not with weapons, with the very thing he fears. The outcasts unite. Across Earth, the refugee leaders called out. Reef Singer's voice flowed through the oceans. My people were cast out for loving too deeply. Today we love Earth as if it were our own world. That love is our weapon. Harmony of Stone's crystal body blazed in the mountains. My people were banished for feeling too strongly. Today we feel hope, and we will share it with every being who listens. Bright fades shone in Nevada, their light filling the sky. My people were rejected for pondering death, but today we embrace it, not with fear but with understanding. Even endings give life meaning, and meaning is strength. The three joined hands again, and this time humanity joined fully. Amy, Sam, Danny, Lisa, Jake, millions more across the planet linked in resonance. Emotions, thoughts, and courage intertwined. The planet itself answered. Earth quaked, oceans surged, storms roared, not in destruction but in harmony. A light rose from Earth, vast, radiant, woven from every voice, every heartbeat, every tear, and every laugh of its people. The flame. Consortium ships recoiled as the light spread. It wasn't energy. It wasn't a weapon. It was something no machine could quantify. Admiral Kethvar stared at the readings, his cold certainty unraveling. What is this? His aide whispered, trembling. Admiral, it is contamination, but not of weakness, of strength. The light surged outward, wrapping the colossal antimatter spear. Instead of shattering it, the flame of unity seeped into it, touching the very systems, the very minds that operated it. Consortium crew members fell to their knees, overwhelmed by emotions they had long been taught to bury. Some began to weep. Others simply stood in silence, feeling, for the first time in their lives, the weight of compassion. Confronting the Admiral, a beam of the resonance pierced into Kethvar's flagship. The bridge filled with golden light. And then, standing before him, not in flesh but in projection, appeared Lisa Carter, Reef Singer, Harmony of Stone, and Bright Fade. Lisa's voice was gentle, almost sorrowful. Admiral, you're afraid, not of us, of yourself. You cut away emotion, family, mortality because they reminded you that you were alive. But life is not order, life is chaos, life is difference. Kethvar's black eyes burned. Without order, there is only war. We built the Consortium to prevent collapse. Reef Singer's voice was steady. And in doing so, you created silence, not peace. Harmony's colors shifted to soft, compassionate hues. You call us mistakes, but what you fear is truth, that life cannot be ruled by cold equations alone. Bright Fade pulsed, their voice electric and final. Death comes for all, Admiral, even you. The question is not how to avoid it, but how to live before it arrives. The Admiral's hands shook. For centuries he had lived without doubt, but now, surrounded by the light of unity, doubt consumed him. His voice cracked, raw and small. Then what am I, if everything I believed was wrong? Lisa stepped closer. You are alive, which means you can change. The breaking of the spear. The antimatter core flickered. Consortium officers abandoned their posts, refusing to fire. Some joined the resonance willingly, touched by the flame. Others simply wept, their resolve broken. The colossal weapon dimmed and then folded in on itself, harmless. The threat was over. But the flame did not stop. It spread across the entire Consortium fleet. Crews linked in empathy, their sterile order unraveling under the weight of shared feeling. Ships stopped firing. Some powered down entirely. Others broke formation, drifting aimlessly as their crews experienced emotions long suppressed. The battle was over, not through annihilation, through transformation. The dawn. Weeks passed. The Consortium pulled back, not destroyed, but shaken to its core. For the first time in centuries, cracks appeared in its perfect wall, cracks where light could enter. On Earth, the Free World's alliance gathered. 40 quarantined systems, 3 refugee species, and humanity itself stood together, not as outcasts, but as something new. In the mountains, Zephyrians taught humans to hear the whispers of stone, building cities that could withstand earthquakes. In the oceans, Nautilans and humans raised coral cities, solving housing crises while healing seas. In the deserts, Lumina shared their knowledge of consciousness, changing how humans faced death and how they lived. And in orbit, a new space station rose, built from human steel, Zephyrian crystal, Nautilin coral, and Lumina energy. A beacon of cooperation, a symbol to the galaxy. Kethvar's redemption. One evening, Admiral Kethvar stood on the observation deck of the new station, staring down at Earth. His silver uniform was gone. Now he wore no insignia, no rank, only a simple cloak. Dr. Lisa Carter joined him. "Do you regret it?" she asked quietly. Kethvar was silent for a long time. His voice, when it came, trembled with something foreign to him, emotion. "I regret the centuries we wasted. I regret the species we silenced. I regret the fear that made us choose control over compassion. But I am grateful to be wrong." Lisa smiled softly. "Being wrong is the first step to being human." Kethvar's black eyes glistened, and for the first time he let the tears fall. Months later, President Rodriguez addressed the United Nations. Her voice carried not only to Earth, but to every free world across the stars. "Today we declare this truth. What the Consortium called contamination, we call life. What they called weakness, we call strength. And what they called outcasts, we call family." The chamber erupted in applause. Across Earth and the stars, billions cheered. Jake Morrison stood at the edge of the crowd, watching Reef Singer's children play with human kids, Harmony's crystal people laughing alongside soldiers, bright fade shimmering among scientists. He felt a quiet pride swell in his chest. For the first time in human history, Earth was not alone. And for the first time in galactic history, difference was not exile. It was home. Above them all, the great beacon station shone, a flame that no order, no fear, no silence could ever extinguish.